KEI is an organization where, we have an open governance structure. So everybody has a term for 3 years. And 3 years are over, next person comes in. This person leaves. There's a revolving governance. Volunteering a lot and doing a lot of work, and then they asked me, Riyaz, can you join the board? And I said, sure. And then I joined the board, and I was in charge of fundraising and the board, and then the board decided that we will elect the president because everybody changes every 3 years. So we had a president who finished his term in January, in December of 2017, and then we had to make a new president, and they elected me, and here I am. So we don't want people to know Kashmir Education Initiative as an organization of one particular person or two particular people. I am not the person in this story. The real story is about the model of the organization. I think, if people understand our model and they believe in our model, then they will support us. If they don't believe in our model, they think this is not the right model, then they will go to some other organization where they think the model is right. And people have to define what quality education is. And we think quality education in 21st century is all about competencies. It's really not about knowledge and other things. Those things are important, but clearly competencies are what matters. Your employers are looking for competencies. Everybody is looking for competencies. And those competencies can be operational, functional, or character competencies. And now when we're talking about functional competencies, people have understood these in the past, and they include math, science, technology, finance, or civic or cultural. So people know about these competencies. But what people have not really focused, and this is not necessarily only in Kashmir, this is around the globe, is they haven't focused on operational and character competencies. The operational competencies are problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, communication, and collaboration, teamwork. And character competencies are like initiative, curiosity, leadership, grit, and adaptability and social awareness. So what our current educational system has focused on is the functional competencies. But adding operational and character competencies in education makes it quality education. That's where we want to focus on. If one kid from a totally uneducated family gets educated, and it brings an enormous change, not only in his family, but also outside. So, at risk means a student who belongs to a poor household and is in higher secondary school. Now, how did we get this definition? So this data came from Education Policy and Data Center in Washington, D.C. This is a data from India about out-of-school children, ages 7 to 14. And these are the comparative rates. Now, these are children less than 14. Now, you can see in Kashmir, in Jammu and Kashmir, the out-of-school rate for children less than 14 is 11%. In India, that is 20%. And in Pakistan, that's 29%. So, in Jammu and Kashmir, we do really well in terms of elementary and middle school. We're better than, there are only 4 states in India that are better than J&K in elementary and middle school education. The problem starts when we start looking at higher secondary education. And the same data also shows, you can see what happens, impact of poverty on school education. You see, if you're in the lowest quintile of household income, your education levels drop drastically. And it's not just, so what we are doing in our model is we're picking up these people who are poor, and they are at in higher secondary school. Now, what about this higher secondary school? This is again the school dropout rates. You see, by the age 14, the school dropout rates are fairly low in up to age 14. And after age 14, they astronomically go up. And so what happens is, this is where Kashmir Education Initiative wants to intervene. We want to pick up these kids, and we want to pick up from poor households. And you get them to a certain level where they become the best in whatever they do. And that then changes the community, changes their families, and ultimately affects the bigger community. So that's the model. Now, what does leadership orientation mean? It means that the simplest definition of leadership is to engage in an act of making a difference in anybody's life. You're just doing something to help other person. And anyone in any position in a society can make a difference. So, I can help somebody cross the road. But when someone enrolls others in an act of difference that is strategic and visionary, then leadership is at its best. When you have a strategic thought behind this whole process, it really makes a big difference in the entire community. The strategy is very simple. You just pick a very promising kid from a very poor household and you invest in it. We have no infrastructure, we have no buildings, we have nothing. All we have is these scholars that we invest in. And here is an example of Insha. You will meet her at the convention center. She's one of our scholars, and she's already been an illustrator on 2 books that are sold on Amazon. So, this is the kind of change we want to see. And, imagine the impact Insha is having on her siblings, on her cousins, on her extended family. That's the change. We have not invested on any infrastructure. We don't have any buildings. We don't have anything to... All we have is Insha herself. That's the model. What do we do for our scholars? What do we do for them? We give them an identity. We want them to know that they belong to a tribe called Kashmir Education Initiative Scholar. So we don't call them students, we call them scholars. We treat them as leaders. We think that they are the heart and soul of this model. So we give them this identity, and that's our main focus, that we need them to have an identity. So we will pick up a person somewhere who's interested in helping a student, who will connect the 2 of them together, and they will talk to each other and guide them. It may not be a very intensive sort of guidance, but just the fact that somebody gets a call from somebody and tells him, I'm there for you to help you, tell me how I can help you, makes a huge difference to the scholar. He feels that I have a potential. He believes in himself with that. And then we focus on the competencies. So now we teach them communication. How do you communicate to other people? How do you present yourself to other people? And what real communication means. Is communication just because you're able to talk? Or is communication that you're really able to communicate and make other person understand? So these are the kind of things, that we focus on these competencies, because we think that it is these competencies that will ultimately make a person successful in 21st century. Because in 21st century, we can always get knowledge online, but we can't get competencies online. And we give them small amounts of money, because they are from poor households. We give them some amount of money to encourage their parents to let them study. Because what happens is, if we don't do that, these scholars are at that age. The reason people fall off the educational ladder in 9th grade is because in 9th grade, they can make some money. They can go and do some labor and make a little bit of money, and that supports the family. And that's a big relief for the parents. Now, by giving them this small amount of money, it encourages the parents to let their child study. And it's completely run by the scholars. It's scholars for scholars. So there is no personal attachment in it. It's basically done by them for them. And there are a lot of things that may not go perfectly well this year, but they will learn for next year. And we just want them to be empowered. We want them to feel that they are, truly empowered and are able to execute on what they want. And also, we have invited their parents. We want their parents to understand their point of view. We want the parents and children to develop an understanding. And the idea is, for those, once you want to get to those few segments, is a lot of work. But once you get them on board, then everything becomes easy and it slides down easily. So you have to get yourself to that tipping point. So that's what we're doing. We're getting this thing up to the tipping point, and hopefully things will catch on by themselves. And our programs are basically these four, where we have a higher secondary program between 9th and 12th grade. That's our flagship program. That's the main program we have. And in fact, we have 624 kids in our higher secondary program. So each year, that's the number of kids that are supported in the higher secondary program. Then once they finish 12th grade, then they need help to take professional exams or whatever exams they're taking. That's called a transitional year program. There are some other names for it, like CEPP, entrance preparation exam. And so that's, some kids get selected for that. And then there is an undergraduate program where people are doing, they're in universities or they're doing bachelor's, and we'll help them during those years. And then there is postgraduate programs where they go outside. Somebody wants to do higher education in a certain field. We just selected 15 candidates last year for our program. And so the idea is we give them application fees, we provide them the visa fees, whatever else they need so that they can actually get it done. And that's our postgraduate program. So in 2016, schools were shut for 4 months. And we were very concerned that what are our scholars doing? And so what we did is we got 100 laptops, and we gave, in a randomized fashion, we gave half of the scholars, it was every third scholar got a laptop, so that we could compare the students that didn't get a laptop with the students that got a laptop. And we wanted to see what the impact was in their next year's class. So we have just completed the data, we got the results, and now it's being analyzed, and hopefully we'll have the results of that. So that could potentially be a study of impact of self-study portal like laptop in conflict-ridden areas. So that's what I'm saying, is we learn the lessons based on here and how we can improve at other places based on the data we get. Here is the financial report. $12,000. In 2016, we had $214,000. Our grant expenses are $168,000. We're $153,000 in 2016. These are our other expenses. Our professional fees and other payments to independent contractors, and our organizational efficiency was 89%. And these are our 10 facts. I don't know if you have this, but we have given, this is a year-old data from 2007 to 2017. We've given $645,000 in grants as scholarships. We've given 100 laptops. Board is not compensated at all. Zero, we pay for everything. Notwithstanding anything, there is one most potent intervention that can change lives and generations, and that was education.